Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at the SU-152. Now, this is a tank that I haven't played for such a long time, and it's a video, or it's a tank that I haven't made a video of for also quite a long time. Now, how has the Smasher just ruined the SU-152? In my opinion, the Smasher has completely ruined the SU-152. Now, before the Smasher was around, there was really no other tank that was competing with the SU-152 in tier 7. It had the derp gun, and the only tank sort of around this sort of area was the tier 6 KV2, and even the tier 6 KV2 has also been ruined by the Smasher. Because why play it? Why play the KV2 when you can just go out in the Smasher, which is 10 times better? And that is the exact same thing for the SU-152. If you own a Smasher, there literally is zero reasons to play the SU-152. Now, the SU has 3 guns. It has the tier 6, the tier 7, and the tier 8. Now, the tier 8 one has very, very good DPM, but it's not as fun. It's not as fun, and I've always said that with the KV2 and with the SU-152. Their stock guns are not the best guns, but they're the most enjoyable guns, and these are the guns why everybody wants to play these tanks, or at least everybody used to want to play these tanks. Now, the tier 6 gun on this, it has the dirt gun. It is the 152, and for a tier 6 gun, actually the penetration on your heat alone on your premium rounds is 275 millimeters, and that is when you're running calibrated shells. Now, with a gun that you have to rely on the HE and you have to rely on your heat, you have to run calibrated shells. There's no choice. There's no choice about that. Yes, you are lowering your DPM, but it does give you that more penetration, because the AP penetration on this thing is not the greatest. I mean, it struggles there to pen the tier 6 VK. You can only pen the bottom plate, so you're not really going to pen too much with the AP. But this gun is not about the AP. You don't want to fire AP in this, and that's the same with the KV2, and actually that is the same with the Smasher. You don't want to be firing AP. You really want to be firing HE. Now, when you're running calibrated shells, your HE pen is 94 millimeters, which again is not bad for a tier 6 gun. But to use that, you do have to either have a juicy tank in front of you, get to the side of some tanks, but mostly get behind tanks. And if you can get behind tanks with this gun, you will penetrate most things that come to you. Maybe things like Object 252Us you might not be able to pen, but you might be able to pen sort of the lower part of the back of the rear. But for me, the tank is no fun anymore. The Wargaming have taken the fun out of these tanks because of things like the Smasher, and even you can add the Annihilator and things like that. It's no fun. This and the KV2 used to be the 2 most played tanks because you can do things like that. You can still do things like that, but a Smasher comes in front of you, you can't HE a Smasher from the front. I mean, maybe if it's angled at the bottom plate, but a Smasher can HE you pretty much goddamn anywhere. He can HE you anywhere, and there is so many times I've HE'd an SU-152 just clean out, gone. One shot, lower plate, you don't even really need to aim. Where with this, you need to aim. You have to aim. The aim time's not there, the penetration isn't there, and I just think, like, since I love the Smasher, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the Smasher, I really do, but I've owned the Smasher from the very start. I tested the tank, and when I tested the tank, I even said to Wargaming, like, you cannot sell this tank. And as soon as they sold the tank, I knew I had to have it, because I knew it was broken, and I knew that they weren't really going to sell it outright again because it was just too goddamn broken. So I've had the Smasher since the very start, and it's one of my most played tanks currently. Not all time, but currently, because it is one of the go-to tanks to have fun in, especially when you're running 2 in a platoon. But I'm still there saying it needs a nerf. Like, I wouldn't be pissed off, I wouldn't be upset if it got nerfed, but for some reason Wargaming just will not nerf it, and their excuse, it was stupid. They said there's not enough of them in the matchmaking to ruin it. Well, as it happens, the Smasher, the Annihilator, is one of the most played tanks in the game, yet Wargaming say there's not enough out there to warrant it being nerfed, or to warrant to affect the matchmaking. And that's the exact same excuse as they used for the Kenny-Otsu, which, fair enough, there isn't a lot of Kenny-Otsus. I respect that and I agree with that, but things like the Smasher, it's just ruined tanks that were fun to play, and they ruined tanks that were the most played tanks in the game. I remember doing a video a few years, and the KV-2, the Death Star, they were the most played tanks in the entire game. Now the KV-2's not even close. I'll do a separate video on the KV-2. I keep meaning to do a video on the KV-2, the same as I keep meaning to do a video on the SU. Now, luckily, some guy sent me 2 replays, and I thought, you know what, now's the time to make these videos. Obviously, they're not going to remove the Smasher. The Smasher's there. It's always going to be there. So how can they improve things? I mean, one, you're not going to improve anything better than the Smasher. If they're not going to nerf it, nothing's going to, no matter how much you buff things, they're not going to penetrate. They're not going to be better than the Smasher or the Annihilator. Let's face facts. But how can we make these tanks more appealing? I mean, Wargaming nerfed the KV-2. They got the Smasher into the game, and then they nerfed the KV-2. Why? Why? Because it's not fair on tier 5s, they were saying, something like that. It's not fair being one-shotted from a KV-2 in tier 5, but yet it's okay to do it in tier 6 when you're up against a Smasher. I really don't understand why they nerfed the KV-2. So the first step is buffing the KV-2 again, buffing the penetration, so it can actually, I mean, you used to be able to just smash another KV-2 in the face and it full hit points. You can't do that now. You have to aim, and that's what Wargaming did when they nerfed the HE. They actually said you have to aim now. No, you can't. Even if you aim, you still can't penetrate a lot of things. And with the SU-152, yeah, it's still a decent tank that can still perform, but for me, you have to give me a reason to want to play this tank. I mean, because right now I'm going to be playing the Smasher. Give me a reason why to play this tank. Now, I do love the HE pen 94 with calibrated shells, and I do love the heat pen 275 with calibrated shells. That's nice. You don't really need to touch the penetration. Considering it's a tier 6 gun, you don't really need to touch the penetration, because right now, if I wanted to play these tanks, the KV-2 and the SU, I wouldn't play it with these guns. I would just go and play it with their upgraded guns, because it has the more penetration on your standard round, and it has more DPM, much more DPM. So I'd like Wargaming to give people reasons why to grind these tanks again, especially the SU-152, because this used to be one of the most fun play tanks in the game. It used to be so much fun rolling around in a tier 6 gun against tier 8s, but still smashing them and doing a lot of damage. So I don't know, what would you change? What would you change? Let's just talk about the SU-152. We'll talk about the KV-2 in a different video. What would you change about this tank to make it more appealing for people to rather play this over the Smasher, or at least think about playing this even with a Smasher? You know, like more armor as a start, because it don't have more armor. So I'd definitely make it unavailable for Smashers not to be able to one-shot them in the face for a start. That's one thing I would change, because I think the armor is like 70 odd millimeters on the front, something like that. It is poor. So that's for a start. I would like more armor, because at least you wouldn't get obliterated by these overpowered Smashers. You should be able to do this though. When a tank turns to the side, you should be able to do that, and that was a nice finish. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you would change things like the SU-152. What would you give it, or what would you change about it to make it more appealing and make you actually want to play this tank and make it good as well? So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I hope you agree with me. If you don't, it's fine. We all have our own opinions. I'm meadsy69, I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.